moonbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Good morning. Good morning. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org with archives there as well. I am Catherine Bell, and this is The Dream Journal, a weekly show where we explore the healing powers of your nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with you. In the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. The name of today's musical creation is Drift Mood, created again by Rick Kleffel, who is also here as engineer. Thank you, Rick. Are you curious about how your dreams can provide guidance in the big questions of life, like your career? Stay tuned as we speak to Empassioned marketing consultant and Dream Girl Power founder Sharon Pastore. Plus, we hear full-length versions of some of her own dream-inspired songs. Next week, I'm excited to say we will be doing an all-caller show in honor of Thanksgiving. So think of your questions. You can bring a dream. There'll be lots of times to explore a dream with me next week. All-caller show next week. This is Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. The Dream Journal is also a podcast, so you can look for that in all of your regular podcast places, and also on the KSQD website. So go ahead and binge listen to get your dream on. The KSQD site is ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. Look for the Dream Journal, review it, subscribe, and tell your friends. So I'm going to start with my personal dream work. So I think last week I shared the dream of the girl sitting on my lap and being a little uncomfortable with that, and yet also curious. So I had another dream that I've been exploring, in which case I'm actually watching the scene, but you know, all the parts of the dream are parts of the dreamer. So there's a part of me that's in the back of a pickup truck, a man, and there's two kids climbing on him. And so it's kind of a similar theme here. And when I felt into being that man, in the dream, the man was saying, get them off of me, very uncomfortable. So, maybe there's, a shift here that now I'm starting to recognize that I'm uncomfortable at times and willing to say something about it. But as I feel into being that man, it feels not only uncomfortable, but also scary. Like, what am I doing in the back of this pickup truck? It's very, very odd place for me to be. The truck isn't moving as far as I can tell, though it's hard to say for sure. But there's like this sense of that I want to crawl to the edge and kind of peer over and see where I am, not knowing where I am. Oh, that's an insight. Not knowing where I am. It's been a long road for me to reconnect with my body and with my gut and my inner knowing, and maybe there is something about it's really hard for me to know where I am sometimes. So that's a good insight there, and I'll have a better chance of connecting with that inner child part of myself as I start to learn where I am and trusting the me that's asking the question and feeling uncomfortable, because uncomfortable sometimes is more than uncomfortable. It can actually be scary. But it's scary to even admit that there's fear. Okay, so that's what I'm mulling over today. Back of the truck. So today, as usual, I will be inviting in call-ins during the last 20 minutes of the show. You can email us anytime, though. You can email us right now at onair@ksqd.org. That's ONAIR at ksqd.org. And we can take your questions over email, and the phones will be open in about half an hour. So next week is an all-caller show. So you can call in today, and you can call back again next week. Why not? We'll be all recovering from our Thanksgiving food comas by Saturday. And, maybe by then the family issues are starting to come up, if they haven't already. And the dreams will be arising from those Thanksgiving situations. So maybe you'll have something that you want to talk to me about, or if you have a question for me, I would love to hear from you, either today at the end of the show or next week when we have an all-caller show. So I'd like to say hello to our guest. Hello, Sharon.
Can you hear me now?
Ah, yes.
Oh, I'm on a MacBook Air. Maybe that's why.
Oh, well,
I just switched the setting.
Oh, good. Well, we got you now. I'm glad that we connected. Okay.
The joys of being live.
Yeah, well, it is always I was going to still say it's a nail biter. It is. It's very exciting and also terrifying. The live thing, yes, indeed. All right. Well, and I want to ask Sharon. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Sharon Pastore. Is that right?
That is correct.
Sharon
You
Pastore.
got it.
All right. Sharon Pastore is a brand and marketing strategist and the founder of the Dream Girl Power Project. She is a mentor for those in career transition and helps mission-driven founders get brilliant ideas out of their heads and into the world. Her Empassioned Way process, is Empassioned with an E, infuses data with dreams psychology for higher levels of creativity and problem solving. Sharon is a dreamwork professional certified through the Institute for Dream Studies and is also a regional representative for the International Association for the Study of Dreams. Sharon Pastore is also a singer-songwriter and performs locally in Pennsylvania with her husband in the acoustic duo Miss Nay and Mr. Maas, and we'll be listening to some of that great music on the show today. Sharon has two web pages. There's dreamgirlpower.com and empassionedmarketing.com. So welcome, Sharon.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Great to be here.
Oh, good. Yes. All right. So maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about how you got started with dreams. Like, what initially attracted you to dreams? Have you always been interested in dreams, or is this something you came to later in life?
Initially, it started in 8th grade, in middle school. Started to keep a dream journal at that time. And honestly, I forgot I kept that dream journal. For many years. Mm-hmm. In high school, I taught a class. I was allowed to be a teacher for a class, and I taught the English class about dreams, and everyone had to write a dream down, and I had symbols on the board, and at that time I decided I wanted to be a teacher. Little did I realize that it was maybe a little flipped around. Ultimately, I really loved the topic of dreams, and it wasn't until many, many years later that I revisited it upon a shaman who had done a reading, as well as my mother passing away. And that was definitely a point in my life where I turned to dreams for guidance and a spiritual awakening.
Right. Wow. Well, I wonder if you have some examples of dreams that inspired you along the way?
Whew. Yeah.
If you're comfortable sharing, just to the
I
level.
do.
Okay.
I have a few dreams to share that I could share about that inspired me. Early on with my mother was probably one of the biggest dreams as far as a visit. I felt like a visit from her, where I had really been missing her after she passed away, and we moved into a new home. I had my second daughter, and I was just really missing her, realizing she'd never be there with me to be a part of all that. And lo and behold, one night I had a dream where she ripped the covers off, and we were dancing in our big bedroom, and we had this long conversation, and the dream ended where she put my hand in my husband's hand.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up just like that. I'm still tearing up thinking about that dream.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. So where I decided at that point. There's definitely something to this, and I need to delve deeper.
Right. Now you studied at IDS, the Institute for Dream Studies. We've had a number of graduates on the show recently, and Justina Lasley and Linda Mastrangelo, who are big in that organization, are dear friends of mine. And what inspired you to actually study dreams more seriously, to actually go through the training? They have a wonderful training program there, which is a very one of the few available for dreams training in the U.S. that I know of, now that Jeremy Taylor has passed away, who used to have one as well, a training program. So what inspired you to take it to the next level?
Yeah, guys, it was in 2017, and it's funny because you start to feel like you forget details. But I had gone to the IASD conference in 2013, and that's where I met Justine, and I participated in one of her dream groups in the morning. So at that conference, the Study of Dreams conference, that they run groups in the morning, and she was phenomenal. I got so much out of it, and ultimately just kept tracking my dreams in a journal, and then I had friends that I started to basically corral them when I came back from that conference and said, we have to talk, and we have to sit down and start discussing our dreams.
Right.
There's so much going on at night. I need to tell somebody. I can't keep this stuff to myself. And so a few of my friends, we got together, and that's kind of how my dream circle started. We call ourselves Dream Girls.
I love it.
And so it started in 2013, and that's when it just kept going. I took courses with Robert Wagner, online courses, which are around lucid dreaming. But I just kept wanting to study my dreams further and further, and people started asking, and you probably know how it is, Catherine, once you tell people that you do this work, they either say one of two things. They'll say, oh, I don't remember my dreams, or they'll throw you against the wall and be like, listen, I have this dream, and it won't stop, and it's recurring, and I either want it to stop or I need to know what it means. And in the beginning, I would freak out. I was like, oh my God, I don't know why that horse is jumping over your house all the time. I can tell you, I have no idea. I would actually get nervous every time someone would share one, because you feel like you're supposed to be the expert instantly, right?
Yep, exactly.
Have you experienced that?
Oh, absolutely. I work with people's dreams, and I have groups that I lead, and every time I hear a dream, there's this moment of panic, every single time. But, I realized more and more that I don't have to have the answers. In fact, I might have, the most I might have would be a suggestion, right? It's really the dreamer, it's the dreamer's dream. And that's one of the core tenets of the IASD ethics statement, is the dreamer is the one who is the expert on their own dream. And I just got to get good at asking questions. So as my friends start talking to me about their dreams, it's reassuring. Or even my clients and groups, it's I'm just here to ask questions. And well, have you, if it were my dream, I might think about it this way, or that brings up this thing for me. And it's wonderful. Kind of takes the pressure off, but it's still because especially the more I start to be considered a dream expert or something that makes me whoa, then I feel like I'm supposed to have an answer.
Dream, exactly. Yeah, I felt that way for a long time, and then the more practice I would get with just talking with people with dreams and running my groups, it was exactly like you were saying. You would just relieve and just be like, it's not, I don't have to have these answers. I have to have questions, and I have to reflect the dream back to this person and point out interesting things, and it's like this conversation. So you share this dream, and you say, it's really interesting that the dog kept barking and then decided to bite you, as you were retaliating or whatever it was. And it's then what happens is you just say that, and then the person who's talking will be like, oh my God, I know what this is about. And you're just
you step out of the way.
Right?
Exactly.
Because Can you tell me? Because
I just don't know. I'm just asking. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. And there's something wonderful about dreams. They're incredibly personal, and they really are tailored to exactly the individual who's having the dream. That's one of the gifts. It's like there's nothing imposed from outside, and certainly if the person that in your that you're talking to the dream about is respectful, then it's really up to the dreamer. But there can be cases where it can be manipulated. We can say, well, your dream obviously means give me money, or whatever it is. Your dream obviously means. That's like a dangerous place. And so like the Zen mind, beginner's mind is a good place to be for me.
Oh, you just gave me lyrics to one of my most recent songs.
Oh, did I? Oh my goodness.
Could the fool be my wisest teacher?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So, well, in fact, I wanted to talk a little bit about your music. I mean, we're going to go to a break here in a few minutes, and we're going to be we're starting out with Fear of the Fall. I'm going to play about a 2-minute outtake, which is longer than I usually play. But I was just really excited by this song, Fear of the Fall, and you told me that it's based on a dream. I wonder if you'd like to say a little bit about this song before we play it.
Yeah, well, I had a car accident over 20 years ago, and I always felt like I was driving fast and was going to end up in an accident, and I did a lot of work through my dreams with getting confident in the car again, because I developed PTSD and a phobia of driving. And so this song really is all about, in a way, exposure therapy.
Yeah.
It's like, the only way to get through your fear is to you have to take the ride. You have to experience it. And so that's really what the song is about. So that's how it was inspired. And so when I feel afraid, I do pump myself up with that song.
Well, it's a very energetic song. There's a lot of good energy. So the whole thing of Fear of the Fall, is a fear but falling anyway? Is that part of the idea?
Yes,
just like being afraid and driving anyway, even though it's scary.
You need to you can't avoid.
Yeah.
Avoidance causes anxiety. And so it's like, you have to get in, you have to do baby steps, you have to go little to keep moving through that fear. It's the only way to go beyond the fear is to actually go through it a little bit at a time in a secured way as possible. So there were several dreams that I learned about, and the word security was so important with me. I in fact, sometimes when I drive with a security blanket next to me, because I learned that through a dream that showed me that to have this comfortable pillows next to me is very important to my comfort and security. Right. And it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's very cool. That is.
Yes,
That's funny. I'm just because I've been gone on this trip and I came back and I'm realizing what's missing from my bag, my radio show bag, is I have these little squeezies and like, where's my squeezy? I don't have it with me.
So your inner child.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, it's so valuable learning to comfort ourselves. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so thank you, Sharon. So I want to let the listeners know that in about 20 minutes we'll be opening the phones. I'm going to give you that number to jot down. Now we're not quite ready to take calls. That number is 831-900-5773. You can also always send an email, which is at onair@ksqd.org. This is the Dream Journal, and we are speaking today with Sharon Pastore, and this is the Dream. This is the Dream Journal. I think I already said that on KSQD 90.7 FM. I am your host, Catherine Bell, and this song is by Miss Nay and Mr. Nass, "Fear of the Fall."
Sing deep in me.
All right, you are listening to The Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and our guest today is Sharon Pastore. And Sharon, that was the second song. That was The Devil Takes the Lead, another fabulous song of yours. We'll hear Fear of the Fall during our next break. Do you want to say a few words about Devil Takes the Lead? Which I just love the energy of that song, and the sax and the drums and your voice is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that song was really about the dark and the light and the devil, and kind of facing your dark side, and that we all have one, the dark side of human nature. So it's kind of a little bit about the Adam and Eve, the story that it's playing on that a little bit. So it's about our feminism and who we are with these. I never really analyzed that song.
No, that's okay. Well, that leads me to my question about creating songs from our dreams. And what have you found to be? What do you have for suggestions for folks who are interested in doing that?
So definitely the dream journal. Start when you wake up in the morning and you have that creative time. Even if you don't remember your dream, just write stuff down, stream of conscious, because you just process something. And I probably talked about this on your show before about incubating a dream, asking for a song. Sometimes I have taken some supplements sometimes if I'm really craving some dream recall inspiration.
Well, can I ask what do you take?
I've taken galantamine before. I haven't taken it in a long time, but that definitely helps increase dream recall for sure. And then, but I can share one dream that I remember waking up and there was an entire arena of everyone chanting this song, and they were screaming this song, "Throw it up, shove it down, and it's like a disease. All the rules toss them out, ain't nobody to please." Wow. And it was an entire arena, and it was awesome. And I was coming out on stage and singing this song.
Wow.
And I have yet to actually put it into music, but that song, called it Censor. And just like dreams always have play on words, this song Censor is about blocking a woman from speaking her truth, or was censoring her, but then it's also about sensing her.
Play on words,
Yeah, so it's if you want to sense her. So it was the only reason that song stayed in my head like that, because it was, the image of it was an entire arena chanting it. It didn't feel like it was me, it was like watching something happening or experiencing something, and then I was able to take that and then be like, wait a minute, that's a song, and it sounded like it was already written, like it was already being performed, it was already out there in the world. I could hear everything, even the instruments, I could hear just other people, and I thought, so the idea that people already were singing it and chanting it, I thought, so now I'm like, okay, this should be a song. I can make something of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, that's what a gift to receive whole cloth from the subconscious.
I'll tell you, it wasn't always that. It's not always that clear. Yeah. I'd say, but it's the trick of with songwriting, and this is the way I've kind of gotten faster at it. Is rather than sometimes using the dream journal, I will write stuff down in a songwriting book instead of the dream journal. So it's the intention of this isn't only just a dream, even though I don't think anything's just a dream. But, and I'm going to put it in a journal and stow it away and work with my thoughts. No, this is creativity somewhere. There's buried in here. So I'm going to put it in this songwriting book instead, and I will just stream of conscious, and then I'll go back and circle. I'll start using the other side of my brain and circle ooh, this is a nugget, ooh. Because when you have that intuitive way of saying things, it's it's poetry. Oh, that's not just stream of thought, that's poetry.
Right. Well, that's how the songs that I have had mostly started from poetry around my dreams. The poet of the images and trying to encapsulate and capture the feelings of the images through poetry, and then the lyrics tend to come. Then the music tends to come later.
Yeah. So you write music too?
I do. I have. I went through a phase of 4 or 5 years where I wrote, maybe a dozen songs, and I haven't lately though. I don't know. I just one of the phases of my life. I have many phases.
Yeah. Understand?
Yeah. So Sharon, I wanted to shift a little bit, because not only are you IDS graduate and a dream circle facilitator and marketing, you do marketing. That you are a marketing consultant, and you also work on brands. And I wanted to kind of shift over to that. So, like, tell me a little bit about your how you use dreams and to encourage, to bring dream psychology, is the way you describe it in your bio, taking dream psychology into data and having to do with brands and marketing and career path. I mean, there's like a whole lot of that's at least 3 different topics there. But I love that you bring dreams into these kind of what seems like a very heady thing of choosing a career, choosing a brand, and marketing that brand. And there's a lot there. And how do those things combine for you?
It's incredible how it does. I'm such a person. You probably are too. Like, everything's a puzzle that has to be solved, and they're all pieces that I feel the need to put together.
Yep.
So it's kind of how my brain works. But like, when it comes to figuring out, we use the word brand, and it's a little bit of an elusive term, but sometimes we get very freaked out by the word brand, because we think, oh my gosh, people are saying, well, who am I? And who am I to the world? And how do I describe myself? And it's can be unnerving, can be a little scary, especially if you're a personal brand. So maybe you're a coach that's putting yourself out there and trying to help people by showing just how good you are at your topic and supporting people. So, and you need to put yourself on social media, for example. And so if we pull back before that, the messages and the stories that we tell, which are all related to dreams, because the dreams are a story and a narrative. These are all thoughts and ideas that can be pulled together to actually say, oh, this is telling me who I am, and ideas for how I can show myself to the world. And not only about yourself and your story, but a brand is really a love affair between who you and who your customers, and that you find each other and fall in love. And that's kind of where the word impassioned idea comes from, because, if you love, you're, let's say you love a candle, that you love that candle, and somehow that candle was created in a certain way because it knew you were going to fall in love with it. So a brand is a love story, and an impassioned brand, as we call it. And so I could give you an example through a dream,
please,
actually, that really, to me, shows a very great understanding of what brand is and brand strategy. I had this dream, I guess it was a good year ago, and a friend of mine who's a business accountability partner, she showed me this image in the dream, and she said it had a person with a baseball cap on, and they were standing on a pedestal, and then there were 2 kids behind this person. This person was speaking. And she said to me, and I quote, she said, "It's not about following your dreams. It's about helping others follow theirs."
Ooh. Oh, interesting. Interesting.
And it was like, oh, shit, wow, that says a lot. So when I woke up and I told her, she said it to me, she was laughing because she doesn't really even like to go there about dreams. It's not her thing. When I told her, thanks for the guidance, she was
like, what?
She just kind of laughed. There was more to the dream, but I still haven't forgot that. So whenever I talk to people about one way to really build your brand is to showcase your clients, when you can, showcase your success, showcase their stories. Always put yourself in their shoes, so that when they see your website, see a post on social media, they see themselves in it, and they feel like you're talking to them. And so that image in the dream where the person was talking on the pedestal and the kids were behind, in the dream she was saying, no, the kid should be in front and he should be behind, showing himself, helping the kids. So that was just a very clear, distinct way to explain, because we can get easily caught up in how we are seen to the world when we start thinking about a personal brand, and then just completely get stuck.
Right.
So when it's like, wait a minute, actually, it's not just about me. It's about the customer, the client, and seeing themselves. Oh, it's like, oh, good. It takes the pressure off. And then you realize.
Right. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then do you actually ask your customers about their dreams and like help them choose their brand and marketing ideas from their dreams?
So what I'll do, I've developed this part of my process. So let's say I do a lot of web design. Before we actually design the site, we will do a brand strategy session. And in that session, I have my clients do this entire dream journey visualization. So they close their eyes. They do the whole thing with their eyes closed. And I take them through the whole customer journey. We do it very dreamlike, as if they had the dream. And so I'll ask them questions, and I try to do like the hero's journey story. So it'll be like, the day starts out with, and we give the person a name. So, a character a name. So the day starts out with Ben, and he's in his house, and he's just deciding again that he doesn't want to talk to anybody. He's really quiet and numb, for example, but he goes about his day, and then I say, okay, now move the scene to the next part of your dream story, your customer dream story, and then we move and we talk about how, for example, Ben is in the truck. Speaking of the truck,
yeah,
he's in the truck.
My
he's
dream,
in the truck, and instead of reaching for the drink, Ben decides to reach for the referral card that he got, to contact a therapist, let's say, and so it becomes, it's like I mesh the story of how the customer finds the brand itself, and so there's the referral card in the truck. Oh. And he grabs his phone and he Googles it, So we start he Googles it, and then he finds, the number, but then he can't really, he tries to make a phone call, and then what happens on that call? So, and then what happens when he gets to you, and then all the way through to transformation. And when we do that and we go through the entire story, so rather than me saying, all right, tell me the demographics of your customer, what are their reading habits, what are their, and we go, we do it as a story. And then what my job is to pull out all those images and then look for them and put them on the website. So we see stuff like that. So I'll go look for an image of this 30-something-year-old man in a truck, looking at his phone. Because that's part of the story of how this customer is finding the therapist, let's say. So it's incredible. It really is a helpful way. And sometimes I've had people bring dreams. One client brought a dream about how everything was so nicely designed in her in a store she walked in, and how inviting it was. And I know that she was wrestling. She was much more cerebral, and she was very much wrestling with this idea that the website needed to look pretty. Why did it have to look pretty? Why? Because authentically speaking, I am who I am. And if they don't like me, then so what? Or something, like there was some internal struggle with it, and she was a coach, and I remember when she had this dream, we talked about it before doing the brand strategy session, and it came out that it was very important because she experienced how inviting this store was and how organized everything was, that she felt like it was an indulgent experience. And then part of it, she was given a ticket, and we talked about the ticket, the symbol of the ticket being like the invitation, and how important it is to give people an invitation to speak with you and feel like they're like treating themselves to something with you.
Okay.
You see, so that feel came alive, and she was starting to shift her beliefs around the aesthetics and the importance of the aesthetics, and so does that help give you a little clue as to how
that helps.
Use it?
Yeah, because it kind of draws attention to certain things that the client might not have thought was important. And away from the things that they do think is important.
Exactly. And I had this one other dream, if I can share, that really, for me, was a game changer.
Sure.
And I feel like this dream is all about social media.
Oh, okay.
Honestly. I called this dream, how do I brand myself? And in the dream, I start off in my high school hallway, and I'm in this locker, and I'm like putting ponytails on, and I'm shaking myself, and I'm looking at it, and a mean teacher is like, what are you doing in this hallway? And I turn to the teacher and I say, what's the definition of branding? Now, the dreams are not always this clear. And she takes me to the basement with my arm, I was like, let me show you, She takes me down to a basement, and I see these students working on these experiments, and there's a board, and it says 444 person's power on this whiteboard. And it was wild, because she was, and after I woke up, I was like, okay, I did a lot of work on this dream, and I started to consider that it wasn't so much about how we post this pretty picture of ourselves on Instagram, looking cute with the hair, the hair, and how cutesy-wootsy we look, which I see a lot of, and I can't stand it. That's not to me. I was like, no, I refuse to do that. But I thought of it more as, how are you sharing your personal power? And how can you even experiment with it? I saw the experimentation going on in the basement, and packaging things. It was a lot of packaging. How can you put something together and try things out, as opposed to how cute can I look on social media?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. I love you. I love this, how specific the dream is, but they're not always so specific, for sure. But I want to go ahead and open up the phones. So we are going to take some callers. So that number you can dial anytime, 831-900-5773. And Tony Russimano is standing by to take your call. Again, that number is 831-900-5773. This is the Dream Journal on the Squid. K-Squid, 90.7 FM, Community Radio of Santa Cruz. My name is Catherine Bell, and now we'll hear another piece from Miss Nay or Mr. Nass by our guest, Sharon Pastore. Thank you.
Sacrifice.
are listening to the Dream Journal. This is Catherine Bell. My guest today is Sharon Pastore, and the phones Pastore, and my phones are now open. The number is 831-900-5773. If you'd like to give us a call, if you have some questions for me or Sharon, or if you have a dream you'd like to share, you can also send an email at onair@ksqd.org, and the phone number again is 831-900-5773, and Sharon's webpage is Empassioned Marketing, that begins with an E.com, empassionedmarketing.com, and also dreamgirlpower.com. So welcome back, Sharon.
Thank you, Catherine.
So I wanted to ask about using dreams to answer some of the more difficult questions in life. Like, the dreams are they're confusing, number one. Like, what is it even trying to say? And they often seem to be involved with kind of day-to-day things. But what about the larger questions? In particular, you've mentioned you're interested in using dreams to help people find their career.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of outside of, being inspired because of my mom and her passing. The career journey has definitely been the key thing. And an example of something I've been doing lately, something I'm working on right now. I love how you do that too. You kind of share what you're working on right now.
Yep.
And that's the other thing, and you probably love this too, about dreams. They're just so relevant when you dream, when you have the dream and you're working on something. I always dream that I'm going back to high school or I'm going back to college. And so I kind of started to take it a little bit literally at one point and connect it to my career. And I actually, in a dream it was supposed to have been about 6 or 8 months ago, I was dreaming that I was a couple times going to look for my roster and going to get my roster. It's like the first day of high school. I've got to go get my roster,
right.
And everybody knows where they're going, and and then I decide I have to go to the principal's office to get it.
Okay.
And so I decided to be a little more literal with this particular dream, and I said, wait a minute, what is a roster, and how nice it would be to have a roster. And when you go to high school, it's the first time really that you have a choice in your classes and your own direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, what if I actually went back to college and looked at a couple of college, university, catalogs, course catalogs, and actually looked at their academic year and decided if I were to go back to college all over again, what would I take?
Oh.
What would I major in?
Uh-huh.
And what courses would I take? So I decided if I could go anywhere, I would try to go to Stanford.
All right,
because
sure.
it seems like all of the big thinkers come out of there. And I know they're really known for like kind of liberal, really design thinking. And then there's like, Silicon Valley's right there. So I studied Stanford's calendar and their courses, and I decided that I would major in entrepreneurship and mental health.
Huh.
So in my mind, I was like, even though they don't have that major, I thought, that's what I'm going to major in my head. So like,
Right.
I'm going to like make sure all the things that I do to make sure they're coherent, because I do a lot of different things. And there's been a time not that long ago, that word just wouldn't stop coming to my head. Coherency. How do you bring this stuff together? And so I was like, that's it. That's my major. And then I have and I saw how you're supposed to pick classes. So I picked pretend classes and I wrote it all down based on the way they tell you to pick classes. If I had an actual academic advisor in my mind, I had one. Because in the dream, I was going to an academic advisor and I was trying to go to the principal's office to get my schedule. So I wrote it down, and then I have like a concentration. And I gotta tell you, this has shifted me tremendously, Catherine, because I look at it and I even follow their calendar, so that I know their quarter breaks. They work in quarters, and I'm like, well, I'm going to work in quarters too, because they figured it all out for the brightest minds. So that's how I'm going to do it.
And you got this sort of from dreams of high school and all that. So it sounds like you work with active imagination a lot, active imagination, as well as in the nighttime dreams. which is
Exactly.
fabulous. Something
Yeah.
Carl Jung was very much a favor of. So I want to say, Sharon, we have a caller on the line.
Yay.
We have Pamela from Los Angeles. I'd like to say hello. Hello. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Pam.
Thanks for calling, Pamela.
Sure, I am one of the members of Sharon's Dream Girl group.
Ah, perfect. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm calling with, if it's time, with two sort of questions. One is how you opened up the show, Catherine, and Sharon, you expounded on, which is it's the dreamer's dream. I think that was something to that effect. And I'm curious about if it's the dreamer's dream, does that mean that I can make up the meaning to my dream? Or is there really a set meaning that I am out to find? How does that actually work? And then if there's time, if you could address the point you were making earlier, just a few moments ago, about you can use your dreams to find your career. I would really...
Yeah.
Because I think if I were to go back in time, I would be an actress. So I'm not sure. I'm so far from that. I'm not sure my dream would offer insight. But do dreams really offer that kind of insight? So those are two questions.
Oh, well, that's wonderful, Pamela. I want to just there's. Say that, there was, well, absolutely, you can, I want to say, start with this, absolutely, in my opinion, and Sharon can chime in, you can definitely make up meanings to your own dreams. You have total latitude to assign whatever meanings there is, and you could, but also I would recommend that you just be open to that, like rather than saying, okay, this is the meaning of my dream, I'm done with the dream, then I recommend that you say, well, this is one of the meanings that seems helpful, but there may be more. And I have found that my dreams change their meanings to me over time. And so, or I may not have considered something. And so if somebody else suggests something, I like to just try to stay open to other ways of looking at a dream. So, but absolutely, the dreamer is the final authority on the meaning of their dream, which is the essence of the IASD ethics statement. And there is something really, it's sacred, I would say. There's something sacred about your own dream, and that this is your dream, it's your relationships, it's your thoughts. But I would say stay open to all kinds of possibilities. But you definitely can say, well, nope, that's not it. Like if somebody offers a suggestion and you're like, no, that's not it, then you have total authority to say that. Does that make sense, Pamela?
Yeah, yes, it does. It does. But I wonder though if dreams are then if dreams can be predictive of what's to come, and if that's the case, if I make up my own meaning, am I then putting in place something to come? So this is where it gets a little tricky.
Absolutely.
In my mind,
well, the word that comes to mind, or the phrase, is self-fulfilling prophecy, and those are totally possible. There's a lot of literature on precognitive dreams. I'm not particularly prone to those myself, but people do talk about having dreams of things that then come to pass at some point. But I love your point, Pam, of that maybe I am planting the seed for myself. Well, then choose wisely, I would say.
good point.
Yeah. Sharon, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, it's such a good question because, and the way I kind of have seen it, understood it, experienced it, about always trying to make my own meaning. So I usually will start with my own associations. What do I associate a roster with? Like I was talking about, what do I associate a dog with, or whatever the image might be. And that will just spur out everything else. It seems like it's just, and then it ends up making my own meaning. And then I do sometimes like to consult with what does it mean collectively, as Carl Jung talked about the collective unconscious and certain symbols across time, culture, space, collectively just kind of show up, like water, for example, collectively emotions, or it gives me a starting point sometimes if I'm feeling like I'm not sure where this is headed, this dream. But I never, Catherine, thought about it, like go back and see if the meaning has changed for you over time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've always thought, okay, it means this. Like I've always kind of done it. It means this at this time, and that's it. And not gone back and reread them or looked at it from a new perspective a year or two later. Right. And I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Well, I've just been mulling over this dream that I had when I was 10 years old. So like 40, God, I won't tell you how long ago that is, many decades. But where it was where I'm in operating theater and being operated on, and it's like this, it's kind of like, it's a nightmare because I get like washed away on this river of blood, but there are these doctors with me working on my throat. And that's about the time that I started really shutting down in so many ways. And I've thought of that as like, see, the doctors were taking my voice away, that there was a way that they were really shutting me down. But recently I've come to think maybe the doctors are there trying to help me, and that I was shutting it down out of my own fears, out of my own, situation. And so it seems like a subtle shift. But now I see the doctors as allies, and that they're fighting for my soul, and I'm scared. I'm only 10 years old, and I'm trying to fit in, and I'm giving away my voice.
Wow.
So that's like a reframe, a total reframe from this dream. So I find I do change the meanings of my dreams. I'm totally down with that.
Wow. And it does lead me to like the power of a group or a circle, because if you share that in a circle, someone could, suggest that to you as well and say, actually I like doctors and they've helped me in my life, so what about but that's really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Have come to change that. And then what also fascinates me is now that you're doing this radio show, and when I think of the throat and your voice, and here you are.
Yes, thank you. Well, that brings me to the first question that Pamela asked, is the voice, and finding my voice and doing this show was partly inspired by dreams, or maybe by Too Much Frasier, but the TV show. But there is definitely like something about finding my voice, and like the period where I was writing my songs had a lot to do with finding my voice. So that has been a lifelong theme for me, is my relationship to my voice.
Yeah.
So Pamela, I'm so glad you called. I wish we had more time, but you asked some very interesting questions. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share, Pamela?
No, at all. None at all. But thank you so much for doing this. It's really exciting to listen to your program. It's my first time, and I'm glad that
great.
My friend Sharon is your guest. So thanks. I'm going to continue to listen in on the other side.
Thank you, Pamela. I'm so glad to have you part of one of the listeners. So let's get back to Sharon. We have a minute or two to finish up, and I wonder if you have some final thoughts or inspirations to share with our listeners.
Just, follow your dreams. Keep track of your dreams, follow them. It just deepens your whole life experience, how you see the world, and it accelerates learning. They never stop being relevant, fascinating, just to understand the mind and its workings and the mystery, because it could be beyond the mind. It's such a frontier, so don't be afraid to look inside.
Excellent, thank you. So this is Sharon Pastore, and you can find her at empassionedmarketing.com and also dreamgirlpower.com. Is there any other ways of contacting you that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, if you're on Facebook and you're looking for a dream group to join, you can find us Dream Girl Power on Facebook as well.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Bye now.
Bye now.
So next week we have a special Thanksgiving all-caller show, so you're welcome to call in then, and we'll be chatting about dreams for the whole hour. You can ask me questions, or you can bring a dream. So while you wake up Saturday morning, 10 to 11 o'clock, get your phones ready to call into the Dream Journal. So you can listen to that broadcast live at 10 a.m. or catch the podcast replay, which as always will be released on the Monday following the show.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss.
I am Catherine Bell, and this has been the Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com, and you can email me at catherine@ksquid.org. That's KATHERINE@ksqd.org. If you have a dream you're curious about, contact me, and I will sign you up for a free introductory dream consultation. Thanks to everyone who has left a review on Apple Podcasts. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Feel free to head on over and leave your own review. And most importantly, tell your friends. I'd like to thank my engineer and musical creative, Rick Cleffel, and the phone guy, Tony Russimano. And donors to KSQD are very vital. We are 100% listener supported. You can head on over to ksqd.org, and when you donate, be sure to tell them you are a Dream Journal listener. When you wake up tomorrow morning, take a minute to look within. Do you remember a dream? Write it down and bring it to the next Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.
Trying to take away my worries of today and leave tomorrow